This is Jayden, the hottest new development in the west side of Singapore. Now, all that hype revolves around the fact that it's located within the second CBD. But if you've actually seen the price performances of those condos in the real CBD, you might be running in the opposite direction. Welcome back to everyone's favorite condo new launch review, and today is going to be a long one because most of the information for Jayden has already been released, except for the price, of course. But without that, we'll still be able to cover the project details, the unit layouts, the supply and demand situation in and around the area, and ending off with everyone's favorite 3 things we like and don't quite like. So, why did I say what I said earlier? I've consolidated the price performances of all the condominiums within 500 meters of every single MRT in Singapore. All 137 of them. And the average annualized returns for them was 2.8% across the board. Now this is the returns for those located in the CBD. As you can see, they have severely underperformed their peers. The reason for their underperformance isn't within the scope of this video, but let us know in the comments if you think we should do a deep dive into them, especially considering the fact that there are quite a fair number of launches coming up in the real CBD. But here's a quick summary, broken down into demand and supply. On the demand side, there really isn't that big of an organic demand to live within the CBD, especially if you are a family. There isn't that much in terms of amenities, it's sort of a ghost town at night, and there's no schools around. In terms of supply, the supply within the CBD are primarily made up to cater to investors, so they are generally smaller in size, not to mention costly. For those of you who have followed us, you know that we do not like to buy into developments that are primarily made up of investors. For those of you who don't understand what I mean, this is a link to the video explaining that theory. Now, the key question is, will the second CBD in Jurong go down a similar path, or will it blaze a brand new, more profitable path on its own? Let us know what you think in the comments. And another interesting thing to note is that despite being one of the biggest, most renowned developers in Singapore, CapitaLand's developments, price performance have somewhat of a checkered past. And we've put them down all into this table for you. So another question that we have to answer is, which direction do we think Jayden will take? And we're going to answer that throughout the length of this video. So let's start off first with the location. And for the location, I'm going to utilize the URA master plan because that is the reason behind all the hype around the area, what's going to happen in the area, and there's no better way to look at it by using the URA master plan. So we are situated over here, the former J-Cube CapitaLand sort of repurposed it from a shopping center into a mixed-use residential development, which is super duper rare, okay? Because most of the time, the more valuable real estate to own is actually a shopping mall because it generates a lot more cash flow from the developers and whatnot. So it's actually really surprising that CapitaLand have decided to, because if they had utilized it as a shopping center, they will continue to own that piece of land and generate cash flow, generate rental from that piece of land in an area that is transforming, and which is why now that they have decided to basically 90% sell away the piece of land, because they may keep the commercial units for themselves. They haven't yet quite decided at this point in time, but essentially they are looking to let go of this piece of pretty prime real estate, which initially when I saw the news, I was honestly a little bit curious as to why they have decided to do that. They've given reasons like repositioning assets, maximizing the use shift, going with the trends, that sort of thing. So that is like, you know, CapitaLand's management high ups decision, but you know, to me it just sort of appeared like a peculiar decision. But you know what? Their loss, your gain, because if you really go and look at it, it's really quite an exciting plot over here. So situated right beside Jurong East MRT, And for those of you who do not know, okay, around Jurong East MRT is perhaps where you'll find the largest concentration of white sites anywhere in Singapore. So what do white sites mean? So as you can see over here, we are pink. So pink is commercial on level 1 and residential further up. White sites are free play. Okay, the developer can decide on what they want to utilize it for. Other than, you know, those that incur like casinos and that kind of thing lah. But so this is the list: residential, offices, shop, hotels, all the way down to exhibition centers, entertainment, that kind of thing. Pretty much free play for the developers, and you can see plenty of white sites all around. And this is where you have to pay a little bit of attention to, because there's this white site over here that has already been put on the reserve list. Okay, the reserve list, and that covers the entire southern part of Jayden. So for those of you who are south facing, is something that you need to pay attention to. Whatever you see over there will not remain there for long. Once this development come up, you got to deal with number 1, your view being blocked, and number 2, a lot of construction noise. Okay, and on right beside that, where the current Jurong Regional Library is also slated to be another residential development. The obvious pros will be when they are launched, it's going to be more expensive than you, but yet further away from the MRT. But the cons again will be the construction noise for 1, and number 2, views being blocked on this side. But then again, if you're going to buy into what we call a CBD area, you should be expecting there to be a lot of construction and the views to be blocked, high-rise building views to be blocked. For those of you who are facing north, not so bad, because you are overlooking the HDBs. I have over here the views. Okay, so this should be the view north, overlooking all these HDB clusters over here. With so much land all around, I find it quite unlikely that the government will redevelop these plots. Not to say they would never, but I think their focus will be to redevelop those plots around the area, because there's a lot of amenities over here, and it's going to be tough for them to relocate these amenities elsewhere to redevelop and intensify this plot. But once the rest of them are fully developed, I think this will be a prime site for the government to look to redevelop, to intensify the place, because then again, that plot will become a lot more valuable than it would be today if they want to redevelop it today. Okay, but further down where you see this crane over here, this will correspond to this dark blue side, this commercial side, right, with a 4.4 plot ratio. So this would mean it will be pretty high up as well. So on this way, you're going to expect your views to be somewhat curtailed, somewhat blocked. So for those that are facing northwest, okay, northwest, looking into the Jurong Lake District, I think quite safe. Only until Ivory Heights go for en bloc, and then you're gonna have to deal. Then basically everything else is blocked already, unless you'll have some on the eastern side where you look over this slightly lower rise hospitals and shopping centers. Okay, so that's basically what we want to look at. Of course, in terms of the white sites, you see all these white sites have yet to be launched, and very, very high density white sites, and these huge ones that they haven't yet quite decided what they want to do with that area. I would say it wouldn't be by any stretch of the imagination an understatement, I feel, to say that this is a first mover. This one is really one to enjoy the first mover advantage. Of course, our good friend J Gateway have experienced it earlier on, but here's perhaps a more interesting thought. Okay, at that point in time when J Gateway launched, it was like 2013. The whole transformation really hasn't yet quite taken place. Of course, then they bought in a lot cheaper, 1004, 1005 PSF. But you also have to then consider that there really wasn't that much happening around that area. And a lot of them, because it's 99 years, a lot of them have already decided to churn that money out, also to flip that out. Did they really enjoy that full exposure in terms of the transformation? Maybe not, okay, because I would say, like you said, like I said earlier, maybe you need 50% in or lesser than 50% in. Now, coming into JDen, have already 50% in already. Yes, you're buying in a little bit more expensive, but here's the key thing, right? Whether or not it's going to be a good buy really depends on the price. Okay, CapitaLand already owned the land. They didn't have to buy the land from somebody else or from the government. So now they have a lot of room to play in terms of how they want to price it. Something like the earlier last year's launch for Sky Eden, yeah, done by Frasers in Bedok. They didn't have to buy the land, fork out a lot of money for the land. And if I'm not wrong, they are also not subjected to ABSD because they already own that land. So now they can take their time to sell without having all those ABSD pressures. I think, right? Can't confirm. Long story short, I think it is they have launched and JDen is coming out quite nicely in the 50th percent, in the middle, versus J Gateway that has come in, yes, first mover, but maybe a little bit too early. Okay, now that's that on location. Now moving on to the project details. So first thing I look at, if you follow us, the first thing I always look at is the number of units, and at 368 units, it's borderline going down towards the small side for my liking. Okay, but for the other positives, is location and everything else, I would say 368 is, I deem it quite okay. Yeah. But the funny thing really is then 112 bicycle lots allocated for 368 units. So I think that's a 1/3 provision, and I think this plays into the whole idea that the government wants to turn the Jurong area into a car-like area, encouraging people to cycle around. Right? So that's quite interesting. Like the bicycle parking area will be huge. Okay, 80% car park provision because it's in close proximity to the MRT, and I honestly think you shouldn't face too big of an issue because also we have one bedders and one plus study over here that should cater to more investors and will be then rented out. To be fair, if I were to buy a unit at JDen, I might do away with the car considering how convenient it is, but also think that because it's Jurong East, it's right smack on the other side of the island, so don't know whether you really will do away with the car. I can't say for sure lah, okay? Anyway, another interesting thing, 44 EV lots. Most of the other condos will be single digit 4, 3, 2 EV lots. This one 44 EV lots, and I believe the reason why they have to cater so many, again, probably a stipulation by URA or the government or JTC, in line with the whole eco-friendly thing that they want to develop for the whole Jurong area. Okay, so 7 units of commercial on level 1. Whether or not CapitaLand will continue to run them on their own or sell it, haven't quite decided just yet. For the second story, right, this is where the J-Walk will link lah. So if you're familiar with the Jurong East area right now, you already would know that you can get to any single development in and around the MRT station via this J-Walk lah. It's already there, and that's something that they will extend throughout the entire master plan area, which is one thing that makes it stand out from the original CBD, right? It's ease of connectivity, is ease of access in and around the area, and I think this is something supremely unique for the Jurong area and would make it very, very livable. Okay, now moving ahead to the unit breakdown. So one of the rare few developments to have one bedders, right? If you have followed the channel, seen the reviews, most of the other developments have sort of done away with one bedders. But you know, JDen have decided to still build one bedders, but pretty big size one bedders, and then now their 1 plus study are going to 600 over square feet. Okay, the 2 bedders, right, we have 2 stacks, 700 plus square feet, quite okay. Yeah, 2 plus study is the one that is quite big. Okay, 800 over square feet already, more or less a small 3 bedder. Why? Because the 3 bedders are all huge, right? 1141. It's the smallest 3 bedder size. 3 premium is 1259 already. No 5 bedders. The biggest you're gonna go is a 4 bedder premium at 1485 square feet. Okay, it's quite big. Again, this is how the development will be laid out. I just came from the developer briefing. I think one of the interesting thing, I think one of the good things, is the number of lifts that they have provided. Okay, so I think the 4 bedders and the 3 plus study premium have private lifts. These two have private lifts. Whilst the rest, I believe they mentioned that there will be 4 lift calls to serve. Okay, some of the other condos, especially if you go to the Queenstown side, one tower like that, only 3 lifts serving. So you have a 4 common lift together with the private lift, which I believe is a good thing, because a high-rise one like that, for those who have been to some of these high-rise developments before, one of the common complaints is that you have to wait very long before you can get into the lift. Yeah, so one of the nice touch over there. So I won't touch so much about the accessibility and whatnot, because that is very, very good. Probably going in straight into the facilities, okay? So I must admit, right, if you really go to the show flat, there's a lot of pools, right? As you can see from, if you can see from here, it's a lot of blue for a relatively small size development like that. If you go and take a look at one of CapitaLand's previous developments, Skyview, Skyview, price performance very good, facilities I think quite decent, but not as many pools as this. And furthermore, they split the pools into level 1 and also a slightly higher level. But this one, all the pools on one level, and it seems like I think if you just look at it, half of the landscaping, because there's only one level of facilities, okay, for this development is filled with pools, right? So I think that's a very nice touch. You have like winding pools and whatnot, and still managed to fit in a 50-meter lap pool. So kudos to the developer and the architect for that, right? They still managed to put in a 50-meter lap pool. So I was really quite impressed by that. But of course, you know, you can't sham too much. The width can't be that big, right? It's not going to be an Olympic size swimming pool considering the land size. So I feel the entire vibe of the place should feel quite nice with the amount of water there is. But of course, no tennis court. You wouldn't be able to fit in a tennis court. And I think if you want to play tennis, Jurong East there, I think you have to go quite far away. The other condos there, I don't think they have a tennis court. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Westmere and Ivy Heights, they all maybe will have lah. Yeah, but you know, no tennis court, okay? But you have basically everything else lah. BBQ, the standard BBQ pavilion, gym, multi-purpose room, and whatnot, right? Quite standard over here. And just a single tower. They're gonna have some facilities as well in the Sky Garden, of which they didn't really give much details over here. So these are some of the renderings given by the architects, and as like I mentioned, I'm really quite impressed with how much they've managed to pack into a limited land size, right? Lots of water, lots of pools. It's also nice that all these facilities are sort of away from the actual block. So even if you have a low floor unit on this block, it's not right beside the facility, so you still get a good amount of privacy. You buy low floor, actually it's still okay. The pool is not directly in front of you. And you know, really quite impressed with how much they managed to squeeze inside, and you know, the kind of details that they have put in. I mean, good thing about CapitaLand, they do pay quite a fair bit of attention to details when it comes to all of these kind of things, right? So this is the 50-meter lap pool. So do note for these floors, then you are directly fronting into some sort of facilities lah. But this particular unit will be quite interesting because it's like hovering over the pool. So if you're over here in a low floor unit, you actually overlook the pool. So I think this unit is quite interesting. And this would be the clubhouse. Quite decent. I mean, I think in reality it wouldn't be terribly big. So now this is the Sky Terrace, okay? Quite interesting thing the interesting thing to me would be the alfresco pots lah. So you can go up there and the view is going to be fantastic, if you see over over here. Yeah, but nothing much else, just basically just to walk around lah. It's not like I would have preferred that if they managed to put a gym over there, but I don't really think they have sufficient space for that. But a gym over there would have been a nice touch, and maybe a small jacuzzi. But jacuzzi actually no point lah, right? It wouldn't really be very big, and nobody really can use it. Moving on to the unit layout. We start off first with the one bedder. So the one bedder is coming at 527 square feet, so it's not going to be a Mickey Mouse small one bedder, okay? Decent size, but I would say it's pretty standard for one bedder lah. As you come in, open concept kitchen, straightforward open concept kitchen. But what's probably nice is that because of its 527 square feet in size, actual area for your dining, right? But I believe most people will then just utilize this area as to put your study table like, with all the work from home stuff nowadays, okay? Pretty standard, not overly big balcony. One interesting thing to note is for Jden, because it's not a GLS site, so there's no PPVC construction, so all these thin walls that you can see over here can be hacked. Okay, so pretty standard for the one bedder. Now moving on to the 1+ study. So the 1+ study, 624 square feet, again quite big. Yeah, as you step in, because of its size, now you can have a slightly wider walking area. Yeah, walk inside. Really good size living and dining for a 1+ study. My only gripe here is that the study, it's situated in between the bath and the master bedroom, and that's the thing that actually annoys me the most when they have a study in between. I think the architect and the designer idea is not bad lah. If you really use it as a study area, or you can convert it into a walk-in wardrobe. But to me, I would have much rather prefer that the study area is segmented out into another side, so that you can create another extra bedroom. Because if you do it over here like that, well, yes, if you really want, you can create another bedroom. How? You block this off here, okay, and you block this off, create a door over here, you can come out like that, access inside, you can come out like that and access inside. So in a way, this one's still not too bad, okay? Later on, you'll see one that would not give you that flexibility. Okay, next up, the 2-bedders. So the 2-bedders are coming in at 710 square feet. That's pretty standard. So as you come in, I like it that it's quite wide over here. Yeah, the kitchenette is set back inside, so you're gonna have a good width over here. You can either put your dining table over here or your dining table slightly further back. I don't think this is a window, this is still a wall. Okay, so if it were a window, then that would be nice, but I don't think so. So your dining table can be a bit further forward, and then that gives you a lot of area. So this area is actually quite generous for a 2-bed, 1 bath. The only problem is you wouldn't really know what to do lah. I mean, if it's for own stay, I guess you can have a feature wall over here to help you add a little bit more storage. But if you have a feature wall over here, your dining table then will have to shift all the way to the balcony already. Yeah, so as you step into here, decent size master bedroom. One good thing about Jden, after I went to the show flat, is I believe the unit sizes, the bedroom sizes are all pretty decent. Okay, bathroom, master bedroom, bedroom over here. So this extra bedroom, because the aircon latch is over here, I don't think you're gonna get a full height window. Yeah, so do take note of that. Balcony is a pretty standard size. Okay, the other type of 2-bedder. So it's a 2-bed, 1 bath. So the only 2-bed, 2 bath, you have to jump into a 2+ study already. So there's no standalone 2-bed, 2 bath or a 2-bedder premium like how some other developments will call it. So this one's slightly bigger at 721 square feet. So where does the 21 extra square feet come to? Let's try to find. Okay, so as you step in, somehow or rather this one more narrow already. So you can see the difference between this one and this and this one, the width over here and the width over here. So this one also very awkward to put your dining table. Yeah, your dining table is in this awkward area or over here. You then also lose the ability to build that huge storage shelf, right? Because so too narrow already, you build a storage shelf like that, you'll make the house look super duper narrow, very hard to sell in the future. So dining area will be a cause for concern. You have to dump your dining area further down, right? So actually, if you really ask me, honestly, I'm not sure, man. This actually looks smaller than this one to me. Let's try to find, where do you think the extra size came from? Okay, the bedrooms look like they are the similar size. The master bedroom also look like they are similar size. So honestly, I don't know. This actually feels like a better... I mean, straight off the bat, I'm gonna go for this layout if you ask me. Only problem is it's stack 4 lah. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the 2 plus study. Now, I know I wasn't a fan of the plus study types 2 to 3 years back when I first started the channel, but as we are moving on to the sort of the next stage of property supply, I do think 2 plus study, especially given the right 2 plus study layouts, may offer a very interesting opportunity, because as 3 bedders start to become way too big due to the minimum average unit size, I do believe there's going to be an increased demand for 2 plus studies moving forward, but they have to have the right layout. Now, let's take a look at whether JDen has that right layout, okay? So this 2 plus study is coming in at 818 square feet. Not small lah, and when you mean not small, it also gonna means that it's not gonna be cheap. Okay, moving forward, so it's a dumbbell layout. Once you step in, already the one thing that's kind of loose out already is the fact that it's going to be a full open concept kitchen, because a lot of the other kind of 2 plus studies, they are already starting to create a kink within the kitchen already. But because this is just a single tower development, they unlikely to be able to do that. Like, if not, the development will have to be very, very wide, right? Those that can do the kink out one are likely the developments with more blocks, for example Pine Tree Hill, that kind. Okay, so now as you step in, open concept kitchen, good width. Okay, so this is where if you want, you can have the dining table over here. So as you step to the left, the master bedroom again. So now this is where I would like to point out. So if let's say you want to create another bedroom out of this, you basically have to give up your master bedroom. Okay, and then utilize, so you turn this room into the master bedroom. Okay, you close this off, you open the door here. Okay, then this becomes an ensuite bedroom. Okay, if you can understand what I mean. And this one, this bedroom, you will then have to utilize this toilet over here. So you swap the master bedroom around. Then in that case, you can create 3 bedroom, right? Because this toilet, you cannot open up into here because we have the kitchenette over here already. Okay, so I do have a breakdown of the sizes of the bedroom. So this bedroom, 10 square meters, which is quite decent. The smaller ones tend to be 9.2 or 9.8. So 10 is relatively decent. As you can see from here, because the study is basically the same length as the master bedroom, it means that you can put in comfortably a single bed. So these are the kind of 1 plus studies, the kind of studies that I like, where the study you can at least put in a bed. Okay, moving on to the next type, 850 square feet, so quite a fair bit bigger. Now this is the kind of kitchen that I much prefer, right? 818 versus 850. So if the budget allows, please get the 850 square feet, because you come in and close kitchen. If you're looking to sell to owner occupiers, they will much prefer this kind of layouts. Stepping in over here again, this one. Okay, but over here, this one, maybe I'm not sure. Okay, if you want to still retain your master bedroom, this one, the door, you can change out the direction of the door to this side. So at least you still have 2 common toilets versus just 1 common toilet. If let's say you want to create this into a standalone bedroom, yeah. If not, then wall over here a little small. Okay, on this side, so you can't have a huge sofa. The dining area is going to be a little awkward for you to put. So most likely you have to dump your dining here, because it's going to be hard for you to put here. You can't really put here. You can't put here. You can put here if you want to retain this study to be, sort of linked to the master bedroom. But if you want to open it up over here, then again here you also cannot put your dining area already. So most likely it will be here, or like what we have illustrated to be over here lah. Right, this you'll notice this is very long. I'm not sure, some people will like, some people won't really like. But if you ask me, I would prefer this to this. Yeah, so budget allows, please go for this one. Moving on to the larger units, the 3-bedders. And I feel for Jayden, it's the larger units that really start to stand out a little bit more than the smaller units. Okay, so for the 3-bedder, so you're gonna find this unit in the show flat. Okay, I'm gonna point out some of the areas that I like and probably don't quite like. Okay, I'm starting off first with the area that I don't quite like. Yeah, as you step in, this area is quite big. Okay, because it has to cater to the outswinging door for the household shelter without knocking into one another, right? So this is quite a big area, and I think it's a little bit of a waste of space, because as you step in, once you go into the show flat and you stand here, you're gonna notice that this living is not particularly big, especially for a 3-bedder with the size of 1141 square feet, right? Too much space wasted over here, unfortunately. Okay, while in the show flat, because it's very bright, it will look okay, but in actual fact, I feel this dining area, because of a lack of windows here and a lack of windows here, may be a little bit dark. Okay, so I think for most people, they will then have their dining area outside. If you then have your dining area outside over here, a little bit of a wasted space, I mean, you can have maybe storage being built over here or what lah, right? This layout, you know, for those of you who follow my channel, or if you are familiar with Affinity, there's something similar to this, and I actually do quite like it, right? If only they have a window over here. Or then that one suddenly make it a lot better, because then it makes this area naturally lit and a lot more feasible to actually use it as a proper dining area. Okay, so now those are the things that I don't quite like. Okay, but what do I like? Okay, because of the way they have orientated the bedrooms like that, sort of squashed it together, the corridor is very short. So not a lot of wasted space in terms of the corridor. I guess you can't win at everything lah, right? Because they've already wasted a lot of space here, so they save you the space in terms of the corridor. It's sort of like, you know, break even on that note. But with this, you do have a bit of a wasted space over here for this particular bedroom 2, right? Slightly longer walkway. With that, bedroom 2 is 114 approximately square meters. But if you strip this out, I think it's probably about 11 lah, which is quite decent for a common bedroom. Bedroom 1 is 10 square meters, again quite good. Notice this is a queen size bed with quite a fair amount of space in between. The only gripe I have about Jayden, especially in terms of the carpentry, is that I feel if you go to the show flat, you're gonna notice the wardrobe a bit small. And I don't know why. Here's gonna be a wall. I don't think this is gonna be a window, because windows are illustrated like that. They can build a little bit bigger, right? And they also can build to the edge, but no, they build quite small. I have no idea why. Anyway, master bedroom is where it really starts to stand out. Okay, L-shaped windows. I like it whenever you have L-shaped windows, bring in lots of natural light. You have nice panoramic views, very impressive when you have L-shaped windows. So huge plus points for the master bedroom. I like it a lot. Okay, I also do like the kitchen layouts when it's done like that, because this is a glass wall, and what that does is to help you, once you step in here, to visually see a huge chunk of the house. Okay, so the kitchen, you visually absorb the space within the kitchen into your visual perception, helping the house look bigger than it actually is. And the kitchen here linked to the balcony allows for very good ventilation. The downside over here is that then there's no yard. If you want to have a yard, you will have to sort of repurpose this little area in your balcony into a yard lah. But if not, then some of you may say the balcony is very long, but no choice, right? You're sort of doubling up the balcony area as your yard area as well for a kitchen like that. Okay, it's starting to get a little bit more in fashion nowadays, and when I sell units in the resale market, layouts like that are quite popular. People do like layouts, kitchen layouts like that, a little bit more than the traditional ones. Okay, moving on to the other 3-bedroom, slightly bigger, about 40 square feet bigger. Now this one is where they give you a window over here. Okay, so as we step in, this entrance walkway is a little narrower, so that's good. Okay, but then again, still this space is, I would say, is pretty wasted lah, if you ask me. But the good thing is, at least once you step inside, I think most of the things okay, so this one, instead of squashing it up like that, okay, let's go it more systematically in a counterclockwise manner. Okay, so anyway, dining area, you have a window over here, so that helps to bring in natural light here. So much prefer this dining area as compared to the previous one that didn't have a window. So this one have a window. Having a window also helps with cross ventilation. But the living area and the kitchen area, I think is very similar, like for like, to this area. Looks very similar to me. But where it really differs then would be the lack of a wasted walkway space for bedroom 2 as opposed to the wasted walkway space for bedroom 2 over here. And I think this bedroom 2, the size would be, immediately you can see the size differential. So this one, very nice size, very good size. It's just a pity I would have done this over on this side so that you can have a Jack and Jill and then consider this as a junior master. I don't know why they didn't do that. Anyway, walk corridor is still quite short. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so I think I would much prefer this layout as compared to this layout. Okay, master bedroom again, still L-shaped windows, but I think the L-shape maybe not as big as, if you can see, not as big as this one. Yeah, the L not as big as this one. There's a little bit of extra space over here, but then again, still L-shaped window, so quite good. I believe the bedroom sizes for master bedroom and bedroom 1 is quite similar over here. Okay, next up, the 3+ study. So the 3+ study is going to come in at 1259 square feet, and with that you get a private lift. So as you step up from the private lift, it's my favorite landscape style living dining area. So very grand, very nice. Yeah, good size balcony, not overly big. So as you skirt to the left, you're gonna have a small dry kitchen area over here, I think, which is why the fridge is here. So then once you step in, it's a wet kitchen area. So now here's the interesting thing. Jaden don't have yard one, regardless of what size you're gonna go to. Don't have yard. So the nickname for Jaden may be the yardless condo lah. Because as you see, and this one I'm going to go to it later. Even the 4-bedders also no yard one, which is a bit odd to me. But anyway, yeah. So you're not going to have, the only window you have for this kitchen, okay, is over here at the counter area. So there's no option to put your clothes out or even have a steigen over there lah. Because if you have a steigen over here, it's going to be super duper awkward. So the only place you're going to have your steigen is probably somewhere over here, but then it's not going to be naturally ventilated unless you open this door lah. Ventilate it into the corridor. Okay, so over here quite standard lah, because the bomb shelter will likely have to be tucked over here. So this is quite normal, quite standard. If you ask me, not quite big this area. So this is the secondary entrance in case your private lift spoils lah. Yeah, so over here is quite normal. Okay, as you step in, common toilet. The bedrooms mirror image of one another, quite decent size. Master bedroom L-shaped windows, again, plus points for that. So basically 3 bedrooms and above, you all get the L-shaped windows for the master bedroom. I think this will appear well in the resale market, especially if you get a high floor unit, unblocked views. Very, very nice. Okay, now this study, pay attention because we have a window in the study, right? The only one of the studies in Jaden that comes with a window, and I think this one, the length is good enough. Okay, the only odd thing is I don't know why they have a sliding door over here. I think it's so that you can access from the master bedroom. Okay, but if not, what you can do is shift the master bedroom door to here, and then keep this. You close this off, you keep a sliding door to save space, and then you can have a single bed over here, essentially turning your 3+ study into a 4-bedder. Okay, now moving on to the 4-bedder, the largest unit that we have in Jaden, and also something that you can see in the show flat. So it's 1,485 square feet. Same thing, private lift lobby. As you step out, very nice landscape style living and dining area, and as you skirt over here, I'm very happy to see that this kind of kitchen layout is getting more and more popular, right? The first time I've seen it was in Avenir. Wow, very wow, right? You have this basically two sliding doors opening up like that. I don't know what exactly this means, but I think this one you can open up and then fully close it off like that lah. But basically that gives you a very wide connection over into the dining area, helping the dining area appear a lot bigger. So when you don't do your cooking, you open up everything. It's an extension of the living and dining area, helping it appear very, very big. Yeah, so plus points for that. But to be fair, it looks a lot bigger on the floor plan, and that is really quite contradictory because most of the time you go to the show flat, it looks bigger than it is on floor plan. But I must say, for this one in particular, it looks a lot bigger here than in the show flat. I don't know why, but maybe because I have the impression that for the last few units that I saw that have this kind of kitchen, Avenir and then Pine Tree Hill, that has this kitchen in their 5-bedders. So I just felt it was a little small, okay, when I went into the show flat. Not to say as it is small, it's small as part of how I imagine it to be. Still a very decent sized kitchen if you ask me. Okay, again, no yard, right? Jayden, the yardless condominium. Yeah, no yard, no windows over here. The only window you're gonna find is over here. Okay, so as we step in, so basically everything else quite similar. The master is huge, by the way. Yeah, or if you go to the show flat, they have merged this bedroom together to make it one huge master bedroom. But as it is like that, very, very big master bedroom already. So this is quite impressive because imagine you walk in and you see 1, 2, 3, 4 panels of glass. Turn right, 2 panels of glass. Very, very nice. Especially imagine you go to the very high floor. The walk-in closet, I mean, for the size of the development, it's not huge, but then it's still quite nice. You're gonna get see-through glass for the sliding doors, and then of course the bathrooms. And a nice touch is that they did away with the bathtubs lah for the bathrooms. Some people like, some people don't like, but personally I much rather they do away with the bathtub. The only complaint I have is that they have no marble in the condo. Everything is basically manufactured, like even for the largest one, right? Porcelain tiles. Slightly nicer touch would be for the 3+ study and the 4-bedder setting glass finish for the kitchen carpentry. Yeah, but surface, again, you're not gonna get marble lah. It's engineered stone and porcelain floor tiles. Next up, let's take a look at the supply and demand situation around Jayden. And it's going to be quite easy and quite fast because there's only 3 developments in the vicinity. We have over here, as you can see, Westmere, Ivory Heights, and J Gateway. So Westmere used to be an EC, it was privatized, right? Ivory Heights is a full private condo, very unique tenure, 100 years from 1986, and the most recent one is J Gateway. We're going to pay more attention to J Gateway because it's a lot more similar in terms of its layout, makeup, age as compared to Jayden, right? But then again, Westmere and Ivory Heights still can provide quite interesting takeaways. Okay, so now let's jump in and take a look at some of the data as well. Westmere, one of the smaller developments, right? But with that, despite its age, 99 years from 1960, 1996 still trends at 3.6% annualized gains per annum. Quite a decent number, decent ratio in terms of profitable to unprofitable transactions. Similarly, Ivory Heights is quite a bit bigger but also a lot older, but yet still do very well in terms of its annualized percentage gains. As a matter of fact, the oldest but most profitable in the area. Later on, we dive inside and try to see what can we pick up from the data over there. Very little unprofitable units. And then also J Gateway, almost twice the size of Jayden. Yeah, so they have a pretty good size, but you do have to note that J Gateway sold thereabouts the 2013 period. Yeah, and for a development that was starting to sell at the 2013 periods to still be able to yield this kind of percentages in terms of profitable and unprofitable, while the percentage annualized gains is not fantastic, it was basically at the market peak. and they can still use this kind of results, I say it's already very, very good. Okay, now let's jump into it. Okay, I'm going to start first with the slightly older developments and then ending off with J Gateway. Okay, so let's take a look at the supply situation over in Westmere. No units for sale. Okay, and why is it important to take a look at this is because if you just take a look at the transactions, you may have a false impression that not many transactions left, right? But because in 2023 we only see 3 transactions, but it's really because there's nobody selling. Yeah, there's quite a fair bit of rentals. Yeah, I think it's because likely the rental yield in that area is fantastic, so people much rather rent it out than sell it off lah. Sort of my conclusion to the whole thing. Yeah, very good profits being generated from 1996. From day one until today lah, make $812,000. Even with that, right, is 3.6% annualized returns for over this period of time. It's very, very good. But also you have to then credit them for holding it through from no transformation all the way until today got transformation. And I haven't even include the potential rental gains that they have caught from that. So with that, easily will cross $1 million. Even though those that bought in the resale market has still yielded pretty decent profits. Okay. And over at Westmere, primarily 3 bedders, all 3 bedders. There's no smaller developments, which then again explains why there's very little resale supply over there. 3 bedders coming in at a quantum of about 1.3 million. If it comes online, it will be snapped up very, very quickly on the sure basis that this kind of quantum is very easily affordable, especially for PRs that much rather buy this as opposed to a resale HDB. Next up, we go over to Ivory Heights. We have a little bit more supply, 9 units for sale. Okay, but similarly, Ivory Heights, you don't have small units, it's all 3 bedders and above, right? But one of the things that you want to pay I take away, right, for the transactions over here is the fact that despite its age, we still see a lot and very healthy transactions. You see in this year alone, I see this is more than 10 transactions this year already, and we still see a pretty decent trending PSF. And if you scroll a little bit further down, how its PSF has moved over the years very, very healthily upwards. And I really boil it down to, despite after the transformation has been announced, we saw a little bit of a gap over here. I believe they were trying to go en bloc during that period of time, but if not, then we have basically seen it trend very healthily upwards through the years. And I boil it down to the fact that number one is attracting people that want to try to go for en bloc. Number two, people that want to maybe potentially buy for own stay for the size, because they offer very, very good sizes, 1,007, 1,008. And if you want to stay in that area and you want size, this is basically your only option. Westmere, nothing to buy. J Gateway, small. This is the only option you can basically afford to buy lah. And I think most of these buyers should be own stay, because as an investor, unless you want to go for en bloc doesn't quite make sense as an investor. But correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, this quantum, do note. Okay, do pay attention, because these are the kind of quantums that people are willing to pay for 3 bedders at this kind of age in this area. So now, what's the takeaway that we can take out of this whole thing? Yeah. So conclusion is, Ivory Heights, what it tells me is that people do want to stay in this area, right? And they want size. They no choice. That's why even though this age is so old, the demand is still very, very high. Okay? Next up, jumping into perhaps the most important analysis here, J Gateway's demand and supply. And I'm going to start off first with the demand side, looking at the transactions. And immediately what jumps out to me would be the sheer number of 1-bedder transactions that I can see, right? While there is a fair number of 1-bedders in J Gateway, I also see a reasonable number of 2-bedders and 3-bedders, so it's not one that has way too many 1-bedders and skewed the numbers accordingly, right? Regardless, this is a really healthy number of 1-bedder transactions. Now, looking at this, what does that tell me? That tells me that the 1-bedder market in the OCR resale market is very much alive. For those of you who have been following us for a while, you would know that I have never been a big proponent of 1-bedders in the OCR lah. Not a very big fan of them, because I always struggle to try to visualize who do we sell to. But now looking at this, I may have to sort of adjust my thinking a little bit. The resale market for 1-bedder is very much alive. And not just that, you take a look at the quantums, 1 million So this is a $1 million 1-bedder in the OCR. Of course, bearing in mind that we do have to take that statement with a pinch of salt, considering this is Jurong lah, right? Our second CBD and whatnot. But all things considered, conclusion, OCR 1-bedder market very much alive. So if you can find a new launch that is not too far away in terms of price quantums from this, I think it's quite safe, right? Of course, you don't expect this to be applied across the board lah, but just sort of an interesting takeaway that I have. Okay, we have the 3-bedders over here. You also notice that they get snapped up quite quickly, considering if you look at the supply over here, not a lot, 22 units only, give or takes, with quite a fair number of duplicates, so not a lot of supply. And if you look at the 3-bedders, the 9471 have an enclosed kitchen. But if you look at the 800 plus square feet one, they have the 800 plus square feet one, 893 square feet. If I can show you the layouts, it is a open concept kitchen. Okay, there is no supply of those on the market right now, but we do see them being transacted quite a fair bit in the resale market. And how do you utilize this as information if you were to look at JDen? So remember just now when I was sharing with you the layouts for JDen, and we have a particular 2+ study, I believe it's the 850 square feet 2+ study that has sort of a kinked in kitchen, and the bedroom can potentially create another extra bedroom out for you. So if I take a look at this and take a look at that, I do think that the resellability of those units in the resale market will be quite strong, and that would be one of the top choices based on this analysis and taking a look at the demand and supply situation over here. I think also the 1-bedders should be quite okay to buy. 1-bedders, 2-bedders, quite okay to buy, considering that the profitability of all those are quite decent over here, right? Not crazy, but quite decent. Okay, now looking at this, another interesting thing to note would be the somewhat underperformance of the 4-bedders, larger units in this area. You notice how the 3-bedders seems to be performing better than the 4-bedders. Why do I say this? Because if you actually look at Lake Grand, which is my first condo, okay, this one is a bit further down, to MRT stops down, Lakeside MRT, and notice how the larger units here outperform the smaller units. So it's kind of an opposite. Here the 3-bedders underperform the 4-5-bedders, and I would say generally in terms of the condos, this is a more common trend. Okay, the larger you go, the better they perform. But why J Gateway opposite, right? Why the bigger units underperform? Sort of the conclusion I can get from here is that it may be hard to sell, because if it's easy to sell, naturally the profit will be high. If it's hard to sell, then the profit will be a bit lesser. So again, how do you then utilize this in your analysis and in terms of your decision making process if you are looking at JDen? So if you're looking at JDen, you want to buy for investments, I would then recommend you look at something a little bit smaller, maybe cap it out at the 3-bedder. You maybe have to consider if you want the larger 3-bedder, the 3 premium and above. Maybe if I'll draw the line probably at the 2-bedder lah, the 2+ study, 850 square feet. Anything bigger you want to buy for own stay, it's okay because you want to stay for long. Make sure you have a slightly longer holding period, right? If shorter holding period, large unit buy for investment, maybe you want to look at somewhere else because as the data suggests, they don't perform that fantastically. Another thing is they may be hard to sell. There are other areas that may perform slightly better for the larger units, and it's just something that is not what I usually say, considering that I usually say if you want to buy in the OCR, try to buy as big as possible, but this is different. If you've enjoyed and benefited from the video so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe as you help out the channel a ton, and also to give us that little bit of extra motivation to continue putting out videos like that. Now back to the video. Now moving on to the 3 things we like and don't quite like about Jayden, and we start off first with the 3 things we like. And for point number 1 is the transformation sweet spot. So the entire Jurong transformation was first announced in 2008. Now that's 15 years ago. And on top of that, remember at that point in time there was also the whole hype around the high-speed rail connecting us to Malaysia, KL. Obviously that hasn't happened, and that's also one of the reasons why I do not put too much emphasis into transformations. I'm not a big proponent of buying into an area simply because of transformation, because of reasons like that. Number 1, it takes a long time, and number 2, you never really know what's going to happen, what's going to change in that transformation. But why do I say transformation sweet spot then for Jayden? It's because we are halfway through the transformation already, 15 years in, with still a little bit of runway to go. So stuff have already been done, you are already benefiting from some of the changes, jaywalk, hospital, hotel, the business park jobs already being in that area, but yet still potentially benefiting from some of the other things that's still going to come up, especially the new land plots that's going to be released, all the new white sites and the huge master plan white sites potentially to be released. So you are not taking as much risk and you are not going to take as much time, and yet you still have sufficient lease left because you are buying into a 99-year development and by the time all the transformation is done, you have still a good amount of lease balance to fully recognize the entire transformation, as opposed to, for example, J Gateway that came in 2013, just 5 years into the transformation, and by the time the entire transformation is done, they are already wanted through their lease. Second thing we like about Jayden, the price gap. Now, I'm not saying the expected 2,300 to 2,700 PSF is cheap, because it's not. What I'm saying is that I do not think that PSF is overpriced. For those of you who follow us, you may have watched our reserve residences video. I'm going to put that link down in the description or somewhere in this video. Now, in that video, I did a deep dive into the price performances of integrated developments. Now, I'm going to consider Jayden as perhaps 80 to 90% of an integrated development, considering its close proximity to the MRT and also its close proximity to malls. And in that video, we found and we concluded that the sweet spot price differential between an integrated development and other launches in the same period of time was 15%. If you exceed that, if you go closer to 20-25%, there's a chance that you may underperform the other launches. And if you have 15% price premiums or lesser, there's a chance that you may outperform your comparisons during the same period of time. Now, knowing that, let's take a look at Jayden. So over here, I have sort of handpicked, selected some of the comparable new launches. I'm going to explain to you guys the reasons why I've put them in. I've also put in Sengkang Grand and Woodley Residences as a comparison to other new OCR integrated developments, but of course excluding the whole hype transformation kind of thing. And of course, we can't run away from taking a look at how much difference are we priced as compared to J Gateway. Okay, I start off first with our comparable new launches in the area. We have Lake Garden that's not too far away, nearer to Yuanqing on the opposite side of Chinese Gardens. The average PSF over there is only 1,800. Only 1,800 lah. But of course, there is a little bit of a distance to the MRT and whatnot. The highest PSF achieved there is 2,100. So if you look at that, the percentage differential, if it does come out to be 2.3, 2.5, 2.7, is quite high. 22, 33, 44%, which is why it's always important to have more comparables. You don't just want to compare like that and make a decision simply based on one comparisons. Now let's take a look at other OCR launches. Okay, we have Lentor Hills and Lentor Modern, out of which I would think Lentor Modern is quite a good comparison. The reason why is because it's also an integrated development sitting on top of an MRT, malls, residential in an area that is transforming. Okay, and the average PSF there, it's 2.121 PSF. And if you compare that to what we do expect from Jayden, if it comes up at 2.3 to 2.5, so it is 8%, 18%, 27%. So if you ask me, if you base off this, right, you may try to go closer towards the 2003. If it comes in at 2003, I actually do think it's pretty safe considering the accepted PSF in Lentor Modern. Okay, Lentor Modern is more expensive than Lentor Hills, but not too far off difference, right? So the conclusion over here can be somewhat the same. I've put in some RCR launches also for you to have a good comparison. Again, right, probably Reserve also is quite a good comparable considering it's also an integrated development, right? Jayden is, I would say, like 80 to 90% integrated, but that one is in RCR and Jayden is in the OCR, but you can kind of like appleize them considering that Beauty World doesn't have as big a scale of a transformation as Jurong. So the one also over at Reserve is 2.490 average PSF, and if you manage to get Jayden at 2.3, is actually cheaper than Reserve, and you can potentially go up to 2.7 at only an 8% premium over Reserve, right? I've also put in Tembusu Grand and Pine Tree Grand Dunman for you to compare. If you're going to compare to Grand Dunman, that while it's in a better area with schools, but it's also beside the MRT, Grand Dunman already averaging 2,500, right? And there's no second CBD transformation or over there. There's no malls that is within walking distance over there. The one already clocking in 2,005. So which is why from there, if you compare, you can go all the way up to 2007 at paying only a 6% premium over the average at Grand Dunman. Okay, so all in all, looking at recent new launches and comparing around there, I do think so conclusion, right, 2003 will be very safe. As you can see, you are even cheaper than some of the other launches. 2005, quite okay. Of course, you will have to be comparing to these guys like the RCR launches with good schools. Reserve will be an integrated development, even up to 2.7 if you're just comparing these kinds, the slightly higher or more premium, more expensive new launches. You're comparing it to the OCR ones, and comparing to Lentor Modern, then maybe you want to keep not higher than 2.3 lah. So it really depends on how you want to take a look at the data. For me personally, I do think up to 2.5 is quite okay. Okay, I would try to avoid 2.7 lah, if you're asking me. Okay, now just for reference, we want to take a look at some of the recent OCR integrated developments. We have Sengkang Grand and we have Woodley Residences. So Sengkang Grand haven't TOP yet, so this average PSF maybe not terribly reflective, but Woodley has TOP, so some of these PSF already recognize the resale PSF. So over there, if we compare to an existing integrated development that basically is the old price tag, at 2.3 you only 14% premium. So which is why I say 2.3 really is quite safe, bordering kind of a no-brainer kind of thing. 2.5 will be a bit iffy at 24% already, okay? And if you compare to J Gateway, but I would say don't just look at the comparison between J Gateway and Lake Garden, that may really skew you out a bit and not really seeing the full picture, which is why I really wanted to put in quite a number of comparisons so that you're not overly skewed and without seeing the full picture, get scared and not take action for what is otherwise, I feel, a pretty decent investment choice. So in conclusion, if you're paying 2,300 to 2,400 PSF for JDEN, I think it's pretty safe. You're essentially just paying for its integrated development, its proximity to the MRT, and getting that transformation thing in for free. Now, if you want to get the transformation thing in, that's where it is a bit more tricky to gauge, but I would say up to 2.5 is probably where I may walk away. 2.7 I think is a bit risky for my liking. Now onto the third thing we like about JDEN, good risk to reward ratio. So we've talked about it earlier on in the video of the strong supply and demand dynamics for that area, as well as the strong price performances for slightly smaller unit types, the more investor-friendly unit types. So now that translates to my confidence in JDEN to probably up to the 2+ study unit types. For the larger unit types, you probably got to factor in a slightly longer holding period because we do not yet have any data to show that there are people ready to pay the potential exit price points that you wish to exit at yet in that area. So now that's on the risk side. So another risk that you may potentially be weighing up against is the potential upcoming land supply coming into that area. So now as it is, it's obviously very strong in terms of its rentability because of the sheer number of potential office units and the low supply of residential units for rent. But now you may be thinking that that supply is coming up with all that white sites and also another potential residential site coming up with where the existing library is. Now how do you weigh that up? So first things first is that JDEN's location is super near to the MRT. The future supply coming up will not be as close to the MRT as JDEN, so that's an obvious strength over there. Likely the new white site may potentially be as close to, but anything further else away would be further away, right? So even though they may be newer, they'll be more expensive, but further away. I also like how the government is sort of spacing out the land sale for the Jurong area as compared to the Lentor area. Now, if you want to check out how the potential oversupply in the area may impact profitability, do check out my latest video in the description. I'm going to put the link somewhere there or somewhere in this video. And it's also good to note that Ivory Heights and Westmere aren't getting any younger, so there's also potential that those developments will come up for en bloc. And if they do come up for en bloc while they bring in additional supply to compete with you, they're not going to be as close to the MRT as you, but they will definitely be pushing prices up for you. An interesting observation is that when CapitaLand decides to adopt a more traditional, you could say more boring, more cookie cutter approach to their developments, they tend to do better. I'm going to give you an example, Skyview. As compared to their more renowned, fancier developments that they hire branded architects, case in point, Sky Habitat, Interlace, and the Leiden. So the more cookie cutter types tend to do better. If you were to ask me, I think JDEN fits the profile of Skyview a little bit more because they're high-rise developments close to the MRT on regular small plots of land with regular layouts. Now, moving on to the three things we don't quite like about JDEN, and on point number one is the height. Now, I am always a little concerned when a project on paper looks so good. And maybe after watching this video, you may feel even better about it. But my concern is that there's only about 400 units. And as a developer, if you see the sales do well during the launch day, you may potentially increase the price aggressively. And we have seen this done many times. So I'm not so concerned about those of you who put your ballot number in, you get like ballot number 1000, you may just give up and forget about it. But for those that get like the middling numbers, maybe like 4, 500 or 3, 4, 500, then you may feel by the time like, wow, I have a chance to buy that. Then if I don't buy, is it very wasted? That kind of thing. So I really do advise that number one, you need to do your homework beforehand. And watching this video is a good start. Have a walk away price. If it crosses that price, I'm not going to do anything, right? It's very clear. I don't want, I can go and explore my alternatives. Number two is because, and you need to have that game plan in mind, okay? If you need help with that, feel free to drop us a text, because on launch day, it is designed to pressurize you into making a decision. The entire thing is engineered to make you want to buy the unit and to pressurize you into buying it. So in order not to fall into that trap, okay, because I've seen it multiple times before, I have gotten so many calls for people that have purchased the unit, after that come back and watch the video, watch the reviews and give me a call and are questioning whether or not they make the rest decision or not. So please do your homework, get prepared to avoid a situation like that. And because of the size of the development, if you're entering at the very last few units and you're looking for a short-term exit, you'll be in for a rude shock. Do remember that J Gateway is almost double the size of JDen. On to point number two, on what we don't quite like about JDen, its suitability for owner-occupiers. If you take a look around with all that empty land surrounding JDen, that means that there's going to be a lot of construction happening. Number one, that's going to mean that your views are not guaranteed. Number two, there's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of dust, potential traffic disamenities as well. So that's something that you potentially have to live with if you're looking at JDen for owner-occupier use. Secondly, there's a lack of schools, good schools, right, within the vicinity. There's two, Yihua, Fuhua, but I checked it out, they're not particularly popular. Point number three is that we've seen the price performances of the larger units over at JDen. They don't quite match up to the smaller units. So that tells me that you potentially have to wait slightly longer to exit if you are buying a unit there for own stay. On to our third and final point on what we don't quite like about JDen is the transformation. Now you must be saying, hey Alvin, can you make up your mind? Just now you say you like because of transformation. Now you say you don't like because of transformation. So what is what? Allow me to explain. So we are 15 years into the whole transformation story of Jurong. But if you read about it, right, URA has already mentioned that it may potentially take up to 2040 to fully complete the entire transformation. Now that's another 17 years to go. 17 years is a long time, and a lot of things may potentially happen then. So now, what if you buy in today and then the thing doesn't really recognize 17 years from now? Okay, I bought my first condo in Lake Grand 2016, right, with the whole premise that wow, all this whole second CBD thing is gonna happen, the high-speed rail is gonna happen, and you know what happened to the high-speed rail. Thankfully, I have the fallback, which is Rulang Primary School, a good primary school within 1 km of Lake Grand, to still have allowed me to exit comfortably with a good profit. Now, JDen doesn't have any real good primary schools within their vicinity. So what is going to be your fallback? And that would be the entry price. So if I were to analyze this as a purchase for myself, for my clients, what I would be looking at and how I would be advising you would be this. So we have done all that research and we've shown it to you, right? The price premium that you want to be paying for essentially an integrated development is there about 15%. Okay, as compared to the other launches in the same period of time. So if you're just paying 15%, which we have calculated to be probably around the range of 2.3 to 2.4, maybe 2.5 PSF if you get a slightly higher floor, you are not technically buying into that transformation. So if you're paying 2.3, then you are buying in basically as an integrated development and maybe getting that transformation for free. Okay, and if you're paying above that 15% premium over the rest of the other new launches, then you're already paying a premium for the transformation already, and that is where it becomes risky. What if it doesn't happen? Okay, what if it does take 17 years to happen? So please do then consider what are the alternatives if the price point does come out to be much higher than what we expect it to be, or by the time you have the chance to buy is quite a fair bit higher, out of the range of this 15% 2003-2004 PSF, right? There's a whole lot of other alternatives that you can potentially consider with a very different investment thesis as compared to just simply buying into transformation. Now, if you need help with what I mentioned earlier to design a new launch game plan, what to do during balloting day, designing that walkaway price for yourself, feel free to reach out to us. I'll be more than happy to help. And if you've enjoyed the thought process that went behind the creation of this video and would like to utilize a similar analytical data-driven approach to your property planning, maximizing your property portfolio or your upgrading process, feel free to reach out to us and I'll be happy to help you out.